much for joining us on Africa This Morning. It is the 10th of November 2014. I'm Beryl Ooro. We have a lot lined up for you on Africa This Morning, on Table Talk and also on Media Watch. But first up, we'll take on the bulletin.
Niko stage na ngojea matatu, ndio hiyo vurumai ikaanza. Watu wakaanza tu kukimbia huku na huku.
Mombasa chaos, one dead, several injured as Mombasa youth protest killing of suspect.
Na wale ambao wanahusiana na mambo ya uhalifu wajue ya kwamba hawana nafasi katika taifa letu.
Fake pastors. Attorney General suggests framework to manage religious communities as Deputy President William Ruto warns fake religious leaders.
The agreement that has been reached. So now I ask.
South Sudan peace. Rebels accuse government of breaking ceasefire deal. Thank you so much for joining us. We start on the coastal front of the country. One person has been killed and several others injured after an angry mob in Majengo went on a rampage to avenge the killing of terror suspect Hassan Guti. Hassan was killed on Saturday. Chaos broke out after the stone-throwing youths attacked motorists and passerbys immediately after they buried him in Kikoani Cemetery on Sunday morning.
A team of security officers patrolling the streets of Mombasa after dispersing angry youth who attempted to barricade roads to protest the killing of a terror suspect. Immediately after the burial, a section of the youth went on the rampage, attacking anybody they encountered, killing one and injuring three others. The injured were rushed to the Coast General Hospital. One of the victims said the youth attacked them with crude weapons.
Mimi nilikuwa niko stage na ngojea matatu, ndio hiyo vurumai ikaanza. Watu wakaanza tu kukimbia huku na huku. Kila kitu haina dead, all crude weapons. Visu, mawe, panga, kila kitu. Walikuwa na aina yote ya silaha.
Police say Guti was shot 4 times by assailants who later escaped and was pronounced dead while undergoing treatment at a private hospital. His wife, who was driving in the same car, sustained minor bullet injuries. The killing of Guti brings to 34 people killed in unclear circumstances by gunmen in the coast region. Police suspect Guti to be among youth linked to terror cells in Mombasa and had also been linked to several criminal activities. He is facing a murder charge in court over the killing of a youth in Mwembe Tayari area in 2012. Civil society groups, among them Haki Africa and Muslims for Human Rights, have termed their deaths as extrajudicial killings.
The Lands Ministry has sent 200 officers to Meru County as it continues cleaning registries in the counties across the country. Lands Cabinet Secretary Charity Ngilu says the process of adjudication will go on for 30 days before the ministry starts issuing 240,000 title deeds in the region.
In an effort to bring the menace to an end, Land Cabinet Secretary Charity Ngilu has sent a team of 200 staff to Meru County to finalize adjudication of 135,000 title deeds for Meru County and 62,000 for the Tharaka-Nithi County.
We are between now and next June 2015 going to issue 1.5 million titles in different parts of the country. We have been sending out our officers, surveyors, land officers, adjudication officers, and among others, to go out and finalize some of the adjudication sections that actually were set out way back.
Ngilu says providing residents with title deeds will promote development in the country and bring an end to the land-related wrangles.
I want to assure all Kenyans that the work that we have begun to do certainly will see us as Kenyans getting more settled down, total stability, total peace, and people enjoying some asset that they always have owned, but without a title.
That indeed, I am witnessing.
The chairman of the Parliamentary Land Committee, Alex Mwiru, says the team will ensure every Kenyan who owns land has a title deed, adding that the land ministry is properly utilizing resources allocated to it.
I am witnessing that whatever resources that we've been giving to this Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development are now being put into the real usage that they were intended for.
Chuka MP Muthomi Njoka said more than 90% of residents in his area have no titles for their land.
Where 90% of the land in Igambangombe does not have titles. I want to state that first I want to thank the CS, because you're doing something that is going to go down in history, especially for our people. There's a correlation between land ownership, development, and...
Leaders from the Greater Meru region are now urging President Uhuru Kenyatta to officiate the handing over of the title deeds to Meru people, which are expected to be ready by December.
And to religious matters, Attorney General Githu Muigai has proposed a framework for the registration and management of religious communities. This will ensure that churches, mosques and temples that reflect transparency, accountability and spirituality will be allowed to operate.
Right.
Just days after the Director of Public Prosecution, Keriako Tobiko, ordered an investigation of the activities of Pastor Victor Kanyari of the Salvation Healing Ministries following an expose by KTN, the Attorney General Githu Muigai has moved in to regulate churches. He has proposed a framework for the registration and management of religious communities. A task force to advise on the matter shall be formed soon. Deputy President William Ruto, on his part, has urged Kenyans to be on the lookout for fake religious leaders who are out to take advantage of them, adding that the full force of the law will be applied on those who con others in the name of religion.
And we will also take steps as government to make sure that those who take advantage of us being a Christian nation to face the full force of the law. All Kenyans must be minded, they must be careful so that they don't fall prey to these charlatans and conmen who pretend to be men of God.
Ruto, who was speaking during the launch of Gikambura Health Center in Kikuyu, also said the government will deal accordingly with criminals killing innocent Kenyans.
Na wale ambao wanahusiana na mambo ya uhalifu wajue ya kwamba hawana nafasi katika taifa letu. We are going to be firm, very firm, on ensuring that the property and lives and business and children of every Kenyan is safe.
Kiambu Governor William Kabogo urged politicians to focus on delivery rather than politicking.
And to political matters, Court leader Raila Odinga and his counterpart Kalonzo Musyoka have refuted claims that they have scheduled any meeting with the party's executive director, Mr. Margaret Langat, MPs Ababu Namwamba and Gideon Mungaro. As reported, both Ababu Namwamba and Mungaro have been labelled as Jubilee moles in the party, alongside the embattled executive director Margaret Langat.
In a statement, CORD leadership denied allegations that they made calls to CORD coalition members who met in Mombasa this week, allegedly to plot a breakaway from the coalition. Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua, Budalangi MP Ababu Namwamba, and Kilifi North Member of Parliament Gideon Mungaro, as well as the embattled ODM Executive Director Margaret Lagat, had launched a hotel in Mombasa recently, prompting speculation that the politicians were hatching a plot to decamp from the party. CORD says the only meeting that will be taking place this week on ODM matters is that of the disciplinary committee formed to probe into the ejection of Lagarde from a party meeting. The disciplinary committee urges all those summoned to appear before it and share information on the events surrounding Magarel's ejection. Magarel will be appearing before the committee with his legal representative.
I have friends who have joined me.
Others summoned to appear before the committee are nominated Senator Elizabeth Ongoro, the majority leader of the Nairobi County Assembly Elias Otieno, and MCAs Samuel Nyangarwa, Jeff Kasam, and Helen Katangie. ODM's director in charge of membership Rosemary Karaoke and staff of Orange House have also been summoned. It is not clear whether ODM's director of political affairs Wafula Buke will be summoned after he staged a coup last week and declared himself the party's acting executive director. ODM Secretary General Anyang' Nyong'o swiftly rescinded the move and declared Joshua Kawino, the party's finance director, the acting executive director.
I want you to be next to me.
You're my boss.
And to South Sudan, rebel forces in South Sudan have accused the government of breaking a ceasefire deal just hours after both sides pledged to stop fighting and bring an end to their months-long conflict. Taban Dengai, chief negotiator for the rebels, said in a statement that the government troops advanced from Bentiu and Pariang and attacked rebel positions at Tor and Hofra in Unity State.
That has been reached. So now I ask.
The claims came hours after the Intergovernmental Authority on Development cautioned warring rivals to end their months of conflict or risk intervention by neighboring nations to restore peace. The talks in Ethiopia commenced on Thursday, running through Friday into the wee hours of Saturday morning, culminating in resolutions that signaled an end to the South Sudan conflict.
His Excellency Ismail, Excellency President Salva Kiir.
After the end of the 28th Extraordinary Summit of IGAD heads of state and government, South Sudan warring parties were warned that any violation of the cessation of hostilities agreement would invite stern interventions to protect life and restore peace and stability. These will include freeze of assets owned by the violators, travel bans, and blocking supply of materials that could be used in war.
The parties commit to an unconditional, complete, and immediate end to all hostilities and to bring the war to an end as of the date of this resolution. The parties further commit to the immediate cessation of the recruitment and mobilization of civilians.
The IGAD leaders called on the African Union's Peace and Security Council, the United Nations Security Council, and the entire international community to support the enforcement of the Addis Ababa resolutions. Parties to the South Sudan conflict have a further 15 days to iron out the remaining outstanding issues.
Any violation of the cessation of hostilities by any party will invite the following collective action by the IGAD region against those responsible for such violations, which will include, but are not limited to, A, the enactment of asset freezes, B, the enactment of travel bans within the region, C, denial of the supply of arms and ammunition and any other material that could be used in war.
We'll now take a short break, but we'll be back with more stories from Africa in the international front. But up next, we'll take a look at the proverb of the day. Welcome back. We start off on health matters in the African continent. Top African business leaders have established an emergency fund to help countries hit by the Ebola outbreak. A pledging meeting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, raised $28.5 million to deploy at least 1,000 health workers to Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia.
Founder and chairman of Econet Wireless, Strive Masiwa, who was speaking on behalf of the business community, said $28.5 million was pledged and will be put towards attempts to reverse the economic decline of affected countries and support a post-Ebola recovery.
All the mobile telephone companies in Africa have agreed, and most of them are here, to set up a special facility to come into effect at round about the 1st of December, as the chair has asked us to do. And this will be a capability which allows all subscribers across Africa to contribute $1 each voluntarily if they wish to support this work.
Global health authorities are struggling to contain the world's worst Ebola epidemic since the disease was identified in 1976. The virus has killed at least 4,950 people. The World Health Organization has called for widespread rigorous control measures to halt the virus. Recent figures have shown 132 new deaths between November 2nd and November 4th alone.
What has surprised us is the negative perception that Ebola has created throughout the continent. And this is a humble initiative by the business community and various others to take the responsibility, and we are absolutely confident we will defeat Ebola.
The World Health Organization has said this may be the first evidence that efforts to tackle the disease are working, while warning that the outbreak was still not under control. Experts say that if the disease is to be speedily contained, it needs to be tackled in these three countries. Nearly 5,000 people out of about 14,000 cases have been killed by the virus, most of them in Liberia.
Burkina Faso's political parties and civil society groups are set to adopt a transition plan for the West African country after the ousting of veteran President Blaise Compaoré. Talks on forming a transition government began on Saturday, with the army at first declining to join, while Compaoré accused his military and political opponents of jointly plotting his overthrow.
Around 60 representatives of political parties and civil society met in the capital to hammer out a handover plan, after President Blaise Compaoré fled last week following a mass uprising against his bid to revise the constitution and extend his 27-year rule. The army, who named Lieutenant Colonel Isaac Zida to head the West African country, has first refused to take part in the talk. They later sent a delegation led by Zida's right-hand man, Colonel Auguste Denis Barry, who made only a brief appearance at the discussions. Earlier, Zida had told a delegation from the talks that members of Compaoré's political party should also be included in the discussions, which the other parties have so far refused to allow. The army's power grab in the landlocked West African country has attracted international condemnation and threats of sanctions from the African Union unless it hands over power within 2 weeks.
And moving to North America, protesters angry at the apparent massacre of 43 students tried to break into the Mexican city's National Palace on Saturday, while others torched several tracks in the south of the country. The violent protests came a day after authorities said suspected gang hitmen confessed to killing the 43 students and incinerating their bodies in the southern state of Ooro.
Thousands of people marched in the capital in the latest demonstration of a case that has repassed the nation and triggered the biggest crisis of the current administration. A small group of protesters used metal barricades as battering rams in an attempt to break open the National Palace door. Hours earlier, more than 300 students threw rocks and firebombs at the regional government headquarters. They also burned around 10 vehicles, including trucks and a police car, as they chanted. Gang-linked police attacked busloads of students in the Guerrero city of Iguala in September, in a night of violence that left 6 people dead and the 43 missing. The students had traveled to Iguala to raise funds but hijacked 4 buses to return home, a common practice among the young men from a school known as a bastion of left-wing activism. Last month, 2 hitmen had already confessed to killing 17 of the students and dumping them in a mass grave near Iguala. But officials later said none of the students were among the bodies.
And moving to the Middle East, Baghdad residents are assessing the damage caused by a series of bombings in and around the capital that killed at least 43 people. The blast occurred as U.S. President Barack Obama authorized the deployment of up to 1,500 additional troops to Iraq to train and advise the government and the Kurdish forces who are fighting the IS in Iraq and the Levant group.
The deadliest blast hit the city's sprawling Shia district of Sada City, where a car bomb tore through a commercial area, killing 11 people and wounding 21. Another car bomb detonated on a commercial street in Baghdad's busy central Karada district, killing 7 people and wounding at least 21. There has been a rise in the number of bombings blamed on Sunni militants in the capital and mostly targeting Shias, feeding sectarian tensions in the city as the security forces of the Shia-led government battle the Sunni militants of the Islamic State group to the west and north of the capital. A United States-led coalition has been launching airstrikes on Islamic State militants and facilities in Iraq and Syria for months as part of an effort to give Iraq forces time and space to mount a more effective offensive. Meanwhile, coalition airstrikes have targeted a gathering of Islamic State leaders near Mosul in northern Iraq. The strikes destroyed a convoy of vehicles but could not confirm whether Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was present. Islamic State militants control large areas of Iraq and Syria, but have been targeted by hundreds of airstrikes by the US-led coalition since August.
And finally, in Israel, thousands took to the streets after a man was shot by police after he attacked them as they came to arrest a relative. The man died of his wounds at a nearby hospital.
Community leaders of Israelis Arab minority declared a 24-hour general commercial strike following the shooting as protesters threw rocks and set fires at the entrance to the village of Kafr Kana in the north of the country. Private security camera purporting to show the incident showed the man trying unsuccessfully to break the windows of the police van with a sharp object. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a statement saying Israel would not tolerate such violence and that he would instruct the Interior Minister to consider stripping Israeli citizenship from those who call for Israelis' destruction.
And with that, we come to the end of the bulletin on Africa this morning. Up next, we'll take a look at the leading stories in the dailies in Kenya in our segment Media Watch, but we'll end with a look at the word from one of our leaders.